characters, incidents, names, and situations used in this story are fictitious. The resemblance to any person living or dead is purely coincidental. The following video contains some horror elements and suitable for a mature audience, 16 plus. This channel and video is not for kids.
Hello friends, I am Aryan and welcome to our channel Midnight Horror Stories, where you get to hear true and scary ghost stories. In our channel, you will get to hear true and scary stories every Tuesday and Saturday. But before starting the story, all the friends who have come to this channel for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, and if you like the story, then definitely introduce yourself in the comment section. Then, let's do not take much time and start our story quickly.
Today I have brought you a very scary story. Friends, you all know how much enthusiasm people are about marriage in our country. Unlike in Western countries, only 4 people attended the wedding and got married. The whole family gathers here and enjoys everything well for 7 to 8 days. But nowadays, you must be seeing that everyone wants to make their wedding something different. So there was one such couple who was from Uttar Pradesh but wanted to come to Haryana and give their wedding a grand look, and for this they chose an old palace, and the incident that happened to them there gave them goosebumps. So the same couple has shared their memorable wedding with me, which was very terrible. So let's start the story. A small deserted area in Haryana where more than half of the trees have dried up. Moss is frozen on the rocky ground. No one knows how that moss got on dry land. Standing in the mist at the end of the same moss-covered trail is an old palace called Gulmer Mahal. The sky is always grey there, as if the sun has turned its back on that place. There were a few counted, picked green trees with some amulets and bangles hanging from them. The path leading to the main door is made of stones, but half of the stones have collapsed. A broken chandelier lies near the door, and the black handprints are still clearly visible on the rusty iron gate. Vishal stopped his car in front of that iron gate. Both Vishal and Nisha got out of the car. Nisha looked at the palace and said, "Oh my God, it is really beautiful. That's really the kind of location I wanted. You can't even imagine that our destination wedding is going to be the best." Then Vishal's friend Raghu comes out from behind and says, "What rubbish! You think this is a place for marriage? It looks like a ghost castle. There is only forest and dry path in the vicinity. Bringing guests here is also a huge challenge." Vishal says, "But our missus wanted such a location." Saying this, Vishal puts his hand on Nisha's shoulder and brings her close to him and kisses her forehead. Nisha says, "Anyway, destination weddings are like this, and don't see what you are looking like right now. I will make this palace like this. It will look no less than a queen's palace." Raghu says jokingly, "Yes, it will look like a queen's palace. You are the queen and the giant one king and all of us the people." Hearing this, the 3 start laughing. Vishal says, "Okay, let's leave it all now. Let's go inside and see. I called the manager, he will also be coming." The door inside the palace was huge, made of wood with old-fashioned iron nails embedded in it. When the door shook in the air, a screeching sound was heard, as if someone is slowly opening it from the inside. A broken stone plaque above the door is still carved, "Gulmer Haveli 1783. Nisha reads the placard and says, "It is so old." Raghu touches the walls and says, "That is just by looking." When they went in, there was a very big veranda. It was dark as soon as we entered the veranda. Faint light was coming in from the skylight. Old oil lamps hung on the walls, in which there was still black and soot. A thick layer of dust had accumulated on the floor, but there were some new footprints on it. I don't know who. The chandelier, half swinging from the ceiling, swayed slowly with every gust of wind. It's like a pendulum of a soul. There were several decks protruding outward on the wall, in whose corners are old mirrors. The mirrors were blurry. Nisha tried to see her face in that mirror, but in the mist, he saw someone else's face. Nisha panicked. His heart beat faster. Then Vishal grabbed her hand and said, "Why did you stop? Go ahead." They go to all the rooms of the palace one by one, where they see broken furniture. Nisha says in surprise, "This huge palace is not very old. I mean, I don't mind the castle being old, but it seems as if no one has kept maintenance here. Isn't it strange?" Then Vishal said, "Who takes care of the maintenance? Who would come here so far from the city? In such a situation, maintaining here will be very expensive and boring." The manager said that after 15 years, a party has come here for a wedding, and before that, this palace had come to buy. Raghu says that still, looking at the condition of the palace, it seems as if it will cost a lot of money here. Only then will it be worth the marriage. Then Nisha says whatever it is, but this is what I'm going to get married to. It is giving a very antique and old-fashioned feel. Even though it's old, it looks like there's a connection here. When they go to the back of the palace, they see a lake adjoining the palace, which was still clearly visible. Seeing that lake, Nisha becomes even happier. She begins to think that her wedding album is going to be great. In a short time, the manager arrives. He starts talking about the castle. Everything seems to be fine to everyone. Nisha and Vishal select the place for their destination wedding and come back to their home in Indore. Everything was finalized. On the other hand, the manager had also made full preparations to make that palace a wedding hall. Finally, the day also comes when Nisha and Vishal were supposed to get married. A few days before the wedding, everyone had reached Gulmer Palace. The function was at least 5 of both. In such a situation, some guests had already arrived on the first day and some guests were coming slowly. The guests were special.
निशा और विशाल के दोस्त रघु, आकृति और राजेश. When they reached that palace, they were surprised to see the map of the palace. Because when they first came, it looked like a ghost palace. But today its map had changed. As soon as Nisha steps into that palace, she feels like she's a queen. She was very happy. Vishal was also very happy to see Nisha. On that day, they were to have turmeric. The family members of both the boy and the girl were present. All the people had started the turmeric ritual from noon. By evening, everything was perfect. By nightfall, Rajesh, Akriti and Raghu were sitting near the lake behind the palace. They were talking to each other when Vishal comes calling them. Actually, Vishal had to secretly drink beer with Rajesh and Raghu. That's why they leave the figure alone there and go to the room above the palace. Now the figure stood alone on the shore of the lake. LED lights were burning all around the palace, whose light was falling on the water, and the water of the lake looked very beautiful. The figure moved closer to the lake to see the water. The figure could see his eyes. She was watching herself intently when she saw another woman's axis in the water. The figure was still looking into the water. He saw a woman in a long veil standing in the bride's attire. The figure immediately looked at his equal. There was no one there. When the figure looked into the water again, he saw the same axis again. The figure was absolutely terrified. She ran in. She wanted to tell this to Nisha, but he saw that Nisha was very happy with all the people and were talking among themselves. Akriti tried to tell Nisha that she had to talk to her alone, but poor Nisha could not stay alone. He always had someone by his side. Well, the figure quietly went into the room and lay down. Slowly, everyone finished their work and went to sleep. Nisha, on the other hand, was sleeping in the palace room with her mother. It was then that Nisha's ears heard the sound of wedding mantran echoing, which opened her eyes. The sound was coming from the veranda of the palace where their wedding pavilion was located. Nisha thought to herself, this voice is Pandit Ji's, but he wasn't going to come today. When Nisha looked at the time on her clock, it was 12:30. Nisha thought, what Pandit Ji is doing here at this late night? And he's also reciting mantras. Nisha couldn't stay that, she went to the veranda. When she reached the veranda, she was surprised to see the condition of the veranda. The veranda that was decorated with lights, diyas and garlands a while ago was now outdated, just like when they first saw that veranda. Nisha couldn't believe her eyes. She looked around the veranda to see if it was a deception for her eyes. When she went out of the veranda towards the main door, everything was old there too. Nisha said to herself, no, it can't be. How strange it all is. Nisha ran back to her room. The room was locked. She called out to her mother, Mummy, Mummy, open the door. Mummy, Nisha's mother, opened her eyes and saw that Nisha was not equal to them. Nisha's voice is coming from outside, so Nisha's mother also panicked. She quickly opened the door. Seeing her mother, Nisha clung to her and closed her eyes nervously. Nisha's mother asked, Son, what happened? Why are you nervous? Nisha separated herself from her mother and opened her eyes and was once again surprised. Now everything was perfectly normal. All the decorations were as they went. Nisha looked everywhere in surprise.
She went back to the veranda and saw that everything was decorated. Lamp, flower garlands, everything is good. Nisha's mother was behind her. She said, "What happened? What are you looking at?" Nisha herself was confused. He didn't understand what happened to him, but he finished the conversation and said, Nothing, mom, was just getting tired. Let's go and lie down." On the other hand, Raghu, Vishal and Rajesh were in a room and almost all three were sleeping. Then Vishal heard a knock on the door. The sound of the door was continuous, so he ignored that voice a couple of times. But when he saw that the sound was coming continuously, he got up. When Vishal opened the door, he saw Nisha standing at some distance from the door in the bride's attire, and her face was also on the other side. Vishal had not seen Nisha's face, but seeing the stature, he felt like it was Nisha. Seeing Nisha, Vishal seemed to have lost all his intoxication. He looked at the time on his hand clock and it was striking at 2 a.m. Vishal quietly closed the door and came out. He said, "Nisha, you so late at night and that too in these clothes?" Nisha did not respond in these clothes. Vishal said in a mischievous manner, "What is the matter? Do you plan to get married today?" The woman smiled lightly at this. With the clinking of bangles and the clinking of anklets, the woman descended one step at a time. Vishal was also behind him. Slowly the woman took the giant to the shore of the lake. She covered her face with a veil. There were only a few stone benches to sit on the banks of the lake. Nisha was standing, but Vishal sat on that bench. The whole of the castle was lying on the lake, because of which the lake looked even more beautiful. Vishal said, "Nisha, this destination wedding idea of yours was really good. Look how beautiful it looks. It's only been one day and we had so much fun. Imagine how much fun it will be on the wedding day. When all the relatives see this destination wedding of ours, they will be left looking at this place." The woman stood silent. She slowly began to move towards the lake. Vishal was chattering himself because he was also a little drunk. But as soon as Vishal's attention fell on the woman, she was going towards the lake. He also stood up and said, "Nisha, where are you going?" But the woman did not listen to Vishal. Vishal followed her, but she had already stepped a few steps into the lake. Vishal called out to Nisha, "Wait 3 nights." "Nisha, it's dark there, don't go there." But the woman neither answered nor looked back. Soon she slowly sank inward into the water. Vishal was also following him, but he saw that the water level was getting higher. Slowly that water is rising upwards. Seeing this, Vishal was very nervous. He turned around and started running. All of a sudden, all the water that had risen above the lake fell on the giant, and that water tried to pull the giant inside it. But luckily, a tree root came into Vishal's hand. He held on to the root and could not go underwater. As soon as the giant fell to the ground from the flow of water, he fell screaming and fell unconscious as soon as he fell. Vishal's voice was heard by everyone present in the palace. Everyone, including the manager, got up at the sound of screaming. Raghu and Rajesh also opened their eyes. They saw that Vishal did not have them. When they came down in a panic, they found that all the people were gathered in the veranda, but Vishal was not present there. Everyone started looking for Vishal. Then he was found unconscious at the root of a tree on the shore of a huge lake. Blood was coming out of his head. Everyone panicked. He was given first aid at Anandan. It was night time. There was no hospital nearby. No one could take the help of a doctor in a village or city. At present, Vishal's condition improved by home treatment, but it seemed as if Vishal was in a deep shock. He was shocked when he found Nisha in a normal night suit in front of him. Everybody was there. That's why he couldn't ask Nisha what she had come down to do in the lake and how she suddenly changed her clothes. His dad sleeps next to him to take care of Vishal. The next day was the Mehendi ceremony. Everything was going very well. People were so lost in happiness that no one remembered what had happened the previous night. Songs were being sung, the dance and song were in full swing. Gradually the guests were also increasing. Nisha was being applied mehendi in the evening. At the time when the mehendi was being applied, she was busy watching the dance songs of the people, and as soon as her mehendi is complete, she screams at the sight of her mehendi, because the color of the mehendi was not green but red. Nisha turns around and looks at her hands. He sees blood on his hand. It was as if someone had painted his hands with blood. Mehendi designs are made from blood. She immediately stands up and starts screaming like crazy. Everyone is terrified of this act. The dancing stops. Everyone's attention was on Nisha. Akriti immediately grabbed Nisha and asked, "Nisha, what happened? Why are you screaming?" In the meantime, Nisha's mother also came. He also asked, "What happened to Nisha's son? Tell me what happened." Nisha was just screaming at the sight of her hands. Everyone was looking at Nisha's hands and they found Nisha's hands to be completely normal. But they could not understand what suddenly happened to Nisha. Nisha gets so nervous that she faints while standing. No one understands what happened. Yesterday, Vishal was unconscious, and today when water is sprinkled on Nisha's mouth, then she also regains consciousness. Akriti asks Nisha, "What happened to Nisha? Why were you screaming and suddenly fainted?" Nisha immediately wakes up and looks at her hands once again and finds that her hands are completely normal. Due to screaming and falling, her mehendi was spoiled from somewhere. But in front of Nisha's health, no one paid much attention to that mehendi. Nisha saw that now the color of the mehendi is absolutely right, but the mehendi has deteriorated. When Nisha was looking at her hands closely, everyone thought that the mehendi had deteriorated, so Nisha was looking at her hands. Nisha's mother said, "Son, leave all this. It happens. It's just a matter of creating. Mehendi color should be brought. What about design? You have to get it done again." "But why did you scream?" Nisha stammers and says, Mummy, I didn't have mehendi on these hands." Everyone is shocked to hear this. Nisha's mother says, "What, blood?" Nisha nods yes and says, "Yes, Mummy, blood. Its color is not green. It was red. Dark red, and smell was coming out of it. But now everything is normal. What is all this going on?" Akriti says, "Nisha, what are you talking about? There was no blood in your hand. Just you were screaming. You were looking at your hand again and again. We also saw your hand. The color of the mehendi was green. It was not red. You must have had some misunderstanding." Nisha says, "No, I didn't have any misunderstanding. I'm telling the truth. I saw it and I couldn't tolerate it. That's all. That's why Mummy fainted. I'm afraid this marriage won't break." Then Vishal comes forward angrily and says, "Shut up, Nisha. What are you talking about? Why would our marriage break? It's okay if you've got a misunderstanding. If you have a problem, what does it have to do with marriage? It's a mehendi and nothing else. I love you very much and we will definitely get married." Hearing Vishal's words, Nisha starts crying. The atmosphere was very emotional. Everyone explains to Nisha. Vishal goes out in anger, but now it had occurred to him that something was wrong here.
The destination wedding they thought was normal and good is not so good. Vishal had understood that there was a secret hidden in this palace, that all this was happening to him. Due to Nisha's health, the program stops there. Everyone goes to their rooms and gets on with their chores. On the other hand, Nisha was sitting in the room with her friends. His friends were trying to get him in a good mood. Vishal was peering out of the window of the room in concern. The sun was slowly setting and the shadow of the sun was visible in the lake. Suddenly, he remembered the story of the night of who he had seen that night. Then the question came to his mind that he asked Nisha if she came to meet him that night. Vishal asked Nisha, "Nisha, tell me one thing. You came to see me at about 2 o'clock last night?" Nisha looked into Vishal's eyes in surprise. Vishal said, "Tell me, Nisha, did you come? You and I also went back to the lake." Nisha says in surprise, "Are you crazy to meet you? Was I scared myself? I got nervous. When I woke up, I felt like this palace is like an old palace. Just like Raghu and I came here with you that day, I was nervous. That's why I came to my room and after that I didn't leave. And you say that I'm going to fade with you?" Vishal's face starts to fade. He stands back at the window and looks out at the lake. Then Raghu puts his hand on Vishal's shoulder and asks, "Vishal, what happened? We don't understand anything. What kind of weird things are you two doing?" Now the Akriti was also beginning to understand some things, because she too had seen the face of a woman in the lake. Then Akriti asks Vishal, "Vishal, did you see any girl in bridal attire?" Vishal turns around in surprise and looks at Akriti and says, Yes, I did. She came to see me that night. I thought it was Nisha. I had not seen her face, but from the back, she was exactly like Nisha. I thought we had been with the guests all day. We didn't get a chance to talk about anything in private. Maybe that's why Nisha came to meet me, and Nisha took me back to the lake. I also talked to him for a long time, but suddenly she went down into the lake. I wondered why she was going to the lake. I went after him to stop him, but I saw that the water level of the lake was rising upwards.
I panicked, and as soon as I turned around, all the water fell on me. I don't know how I survived, but for a moment I felt like that water would pull me towards me and push me into the lake. Hearing this, tears came to Nisha's eyes. She said, Vishal, no, I didn't go to you yesterday. I was so scared myself. Vishal, what's going on with all this? I don't understand anything. Nisha and Vishal's friends were surprised to hear this. The giant asks Akriti, but how did you know that a woman was in a bridal dress? Did you too? Akriti says, yes, I saw a shadow in the water near the lake. I hadn't seen his face, but there was someone huge. I'm not saying to scare, but I think this palace is not good for a destination wedding. I don't understand what you liked about this location. Then Raghu spoke up. Our Nisha madam had to get married like a princess and wanted a palace. Although there are other palaces in Haryana, they were out of the budget. It was quite old and quite inside. That's why it became cheaper. But I am afraid that the cheap thing may be too much. Then Rajesh said, hey man, stop all this nonsense. Why are you turning a happy occasion into a sorrow? Everything will be good. Think well and you finish the night's talk. As for something wrong and strange here, everyone should be alert till the wedding. He goes by day and night. The next day, Panditji was going to come and there was going to be a puja. It was only after that puja that the clock of Shubh Muhurat was about to start. Around 10 o'clock in the morning, Pandit Kishan Lal comes to that palace. From the station, Nisha's uncle had gone to pick him up. Dhoni Lalji was accompanied by his daughter Shanti. Everyone was eagerly waiting for Panditji. As soon as he arrives at the palace, everyone starts welcoming him. He was also followed by his daughter Shanti, who was quite different and strange to look at. He had brown eyes, had long and curly hair. She was wearing a strange big pearl bracelet in her hands, a few different garlands around her neck, a deep red lipstick on her lips, a kurti with jeans. It was quite attractive to look at and completely different. As soon as she enters the palace, she suddenly stops, while Kishan Lal had come inside. Shanti stops on the veranda, closes her eyes and starts reading something on her fingers. As soon as Shanti closes her eyes, the palace begins to appear in its true form. She feels the smell of dampness and the gusts of cold air in places like a ruin. Then Kishan Red makes a sound. Shanti, son, come in. Vishal and Nisha's families did not know Shanti. Seeing Shanti, Nisha's mother asks Kishan Lal, Panditji, who is this? We didn't recognize it. Dhoni Lal says, this is my daughter Shanti. She is a spirit reader. Actually, it was also found in a case here in Haryana.
It was a family case. I came here in that connection. That work is done. She was going to leave, so I thought she would go with me. The wedding will also be seen. Nisha's mother said, oh, that's great. Well done. You brought it here. Nisha's mother calmly said, come son, come in, sit down. On the other hand, when Vishal's friends Rajesh and Raghu saw Shanti, they found her very attractive. Especially to Raghu, the girl ran away at first sight. He softly said to Rajesh, dude, this girl looks so good. Seeing these eyes, Rajesh said softly, yes, the eyes are exactly like cat auntie and the hair is like a lion. To avoid it, Raghu looked at Rajesh angrily. Rajesh made a strange face and said, he's staring. You're right, I have heard. The girl with the key eyes should not be trusted. They are deceitful. And just look at its appearance. It looks like a sorceress. Who wears so many garlands in their hands, rings on their fingers in today's world? Then Raghu says, maybe you didn't listen. This is a spirit reader. Rajesh says, spirit reader means Raghu? Meaning talking to ghosts. Hearing this, Rajesh opens his big mouth and says, what? About ghosts? Raghu says, yes, from ghosts, from spirits. The people who talk to all of them are called spirit readers, and perhaps to protect against them, it is wearing it all. Rajesh laughs and says, then brother, you keep this girl. I don't want to live in a society of spirits. The matter is averted into laughter. Preparations are made for the puja in the evening. Dhoni Lalji says, we will do this puja to eliminate every obstacle in the marriage. I saw in your daughter's horoscope that there is some defect in her horoscope. But after this puja, everything will be fine. And if God wishes, the marriage will also be completed with full rituals. The people of the house were busy preparing for the puja, and Shanti was walking in that palace and observing that palace.
Then he sees a handmade picture in the corridor. The picture was of a girl. It looked like this picture was quite old. As soon as Shanti touches that picture, she feels like an electric shock. She immediately backs off. Suddenly, the picture starts shaking against the wall. Shanti looks at the frame of the photograph, which was made of sandalwood wood. Shanti looks at the frame and understands that this picture is really many years old. Then he remembers the son of this palace on a plaque outside the palace. Shanti takes out a garland of Rudraksh from her neck and puts it on the picture. Suddenly, the picture falls down and is shattered. Shanti picks up the paper behind her and comes out. She wanted to ask Nisha or Vishal's family whose picture it was, but she sees that both Vishal and Shanti have gone upstairs to get ready. Also, their parents are nowhere to be seen. But Shanti's eyes fall on Raghu. She goes close to him and asks, "Hey, you are Vishal's friend, aren't you?" Raghu says yes. Shanti says, "And this palace has also been booked by Vishal." Raghu says, "What happened? Have a problem?" Shanti shows the picture and asks, "Whose picture is this?" Chandan, the manager standing nearby, hears this. He immediately comes and looks at the picture. Manager Chandan says, "Hey madam, this picture is with you. This picture is nothing. Bring it, give it to me." Chandan's lips were quivering. Shanti realizes that Chandan is hiding something. Shanti snatches the picture from Chandan and says, "I want to know whose picture is this. This picture is not from today. It's several years old. Can you tell me whose picture this is?" Chandan steals his eyes and says, "Hey madam, must be someone. What do you have to do with it? You've come to the wedding. Enjoy the wedding." Shanti stares into Chandan's eyes and says, "I may have come to the wedding, but my job is not just to go for a feast. I also help people who are battling invisible forces. I want to know whose picture it is." Then Chandan's father calls out to Nisha's father and he avoids that matter. Shanti understood that there was a secret hidden in this picture. Raghu asks Shanti ji, "What happened? Why are you so worried about this picture? Is there a problem?" Shanti does not respond to Raghu's words but quietly walks out of the palace. Shanti takes that picture outside the palace and sees that the picture is getting wet on its own. It looks like someone is submerging that picture in water. Seeing this, Shanti is surprised. She quickly comes back to the palace and goes back outside with some rice and turmeric from her father's pouch. She applies turmeric and akshat on the four corners of that picture and sees that now the picture is completely normal. Shanti comes back to the palace nervously and whispers in her father's ear, "Dad, something is wrong here. We have to do some other things before we start the puja. There is a soul here and that spirit will definitely hinder their marriage." Panditji is also surprised to hear this. Then, seeing a different process before the Shanti Puja, Nisha's father Sachin says, "Son, why all this? Panditji did not tell about it earlier." Shanti says, "Because even Dad did not know anything before. See, I'm doing all this for the good of you guys. I'll tell you all about it later. Now you do what I'm saying." Nisha's father also goes with the manager and brings Shanti's said goods. There were 108 lamps and a black candle. On the way, manager Chandan says to Sachin, "Sir, who is this girl? I feel crazy. Who is the black candle? That too in such an auspicious work."
You called it unnecessary, whereas Sachinji already had so much worry in his mind and now the talk of peace had made him more worried. But Shanti was the daughter of Kishanlal. Therefore, Sachinji could not suspect any wrong on him. He doesn't pay attention to Chandan's words and brings the goods mentioned by Shanti. Shanti says to Vishal and Nisha, "You both have to light these 108 diyas around the mandap and make pure desi ghee in them with your own hands. Both of them have to do this work together." Vishal Nisha starts working as told by Shanti. It was taking them time to do that. While the rest of the people were engaged in their different work, people felt that it was a part of worship. At the time when Vishal and Nisha were lighting the lamp, some lamps were burning with great difficulty, because of which they used to get very upset. But Shanti used to comfort them not to get upset and try to burn them.
Just then, Raghu comes to Shanti and says softly, "Can you and I also help him?" Shanti angrily stares at Raghu and says, "What do you know about it?" Raghu says, "Oh, sorry. This lamp is probably lit by the husband's wife." And now Shanti keeps staring at Raghu. So Raghu quietly leaves from there. Somehow, in about an hour and a half, all those lamps are lit. As soon as the lamp is lit, a strong wind starts blowing outside the palace. The wind was blowing so loud that the sound was coming inside. There were dry trees outside, but it seemed as if the branches of the dry trees were falling down. When everyone goes out and looks, the really dry trees have fallen. Raghu and Vishal notice a tree that is uprooted and the surrounding soil spreads around. That sandy air starts to penetrate into the eyes of Raghu and the others. Everyone goes back to the palace and closes the palace door. Nisha and Vishal's parents panic and ask Panditji what is happening. Panditji himself was surprised. He looks at his daughter. Shanti says, "All this is all done by this soul. I already told you I don't like this place." After hearing this, the whistle of the guests present there disappears, because somewhere everyone found the palace strange. The city far from the village, completely beyond the population. Everyone was inside the palace. Shanti had also warned everyone not to go out of the palace, when there was a loud sound of water flowing in their ears. It seems as if the river water is flowing fast. It was the water of the lake. Hearing the sound of water, Vishal says this voice is coming from behind. As soon as they say this, Vishal, Raghu and Rajesh run to the lake behind the palace. But then Shanti stops them and says, No one should go out. That is why they go to the upper floor of the palace and see the lake and find that the water of the lake is hitting the walls of the palace with high waves. The wind was starting to get even stronger. Everyone closes the windows and doors of the palace. But the wind speed was so strong and heavy that the window panes broke. Strong air begins to enter through the windows. Those 108 lamps in the pavilion go out and keep rolling around. The wind speed was very strong. The garlands on the walls and doors break and fall off on their own, and all the flowers rot as soon as they fall. Just above the pavilion was a glass chandelier. He also falls to the ground and becomes a squirrel. All the decorations that the manager had done are destroyed in a short time. The LED light that the palace was flashing with all of them explodes on their own. Everybody is scared by that sound. Then there is a loud shouting sound like someone roaring in anger. Hearing this voice, everyone is shocked. Those who were constantly talking to each other, everyone stopped talking. Shanti quickly goes into the room and looks at the picture she saw in the corridor. The girl in that picture is now smiling. Seeing this, Shanti is also surprised. She wanted to know who it was. Shanti takes out a Rudraksh from her neck and starts chanting mantras on it. That's when the sound of the clarinet echoes in everyone's ears. While the Shehnai for Nisha and her wedding, nothing quite like the band had yet to come, there was still a day left for the wedding. Nisha says to Vishal in surprise, "Vishal, this is the sound of Shehnai, but we have not called Shehnai yet." Vishal says, "You are right. Where is this voice coming from?" All the people that sound was coming from the main door of the palace, but no one was going out of fear. Shanti dares to peek out of the veranda and sees nothing. It was still just windy, but yes, the sound was coming constantly.
Peace starts to come back in. But the woman who became the bride behind Shanti was also following her. Shanti herself did not know who was coming after her. But as soon as she sees that everyone is looking behind her, Shanti is a little suspicious. Everyone sees that woman. This was the same woman who appeared to the figure and the giant. Vishal was looking at the woman in surprise. Everyone was looking at the woman in surprise, not seeing the piece. Then Shanti realizes if there is something strange in me or strange behind me. That's why Shanti also looks back and finds that she is a woman. Shanti herself panics as if she has been shocked. Shanti wonders, "Who are you and how did you get in?" The woman starts laughing when the veil is lifted and keeps laughing. Gradually his laughter takes on a monstrous form. Shanti angrily asks, "Tell me, who are you?" Shanti understood that this was the very soul she was trying to contact. Then the veil of the bride is lifted by the gust of wind and everyone is terrified to see her face. His eyes were red, his face was all white and his hair was tangled.
Gradually, everyone sees that the woman's stature is getting taller. Everyone knew it was a ghost. People were so panicked that they were running around. But the woman who became the bride does not care about anyone. His eyes were only on Nisha and Vishal. She looks at Nisha with one eye and Vishal looks at the other. Shanti also notes this and says to the woman, "Tell me who you are. How did you get into this castle? Get out of here." The woman says angrily, "I won't go. You guys will go. This is my castle. Why have you come here? It's just me getting married here. You guys get out of here." Saying this, the woman looks at Nisha and starts laughing. Shanti was reciting some mantras in her mind, but those mantras were of no use. The woman was laughing and walking towards Nisha. Suddenly she was trapped inside Nisha. Nisha stood like a ghost. As soon as the woman entered Nisha, Nisha fell unconscious. Suddenly all the furniture in the palace began to shake on its own. The fire started burning on its own with all the materials kept in the fire pit. The clarinet once again began to resonate with rapidity. Everyone started trying to lift Nisha. Water was sprinkled on his mouth, but she still didn't get up. Then Shanti came close to him and he placed his hand on Nisha's forehead and recited some mantras. Suddenly Nisha opened her eyes with a jerk. His eyes looked a little strange. His body was absolutely hot. The veins in the hand had turned black. Shanti found this quite unusual. Nisha got up and said, "Vishal, Vishal, let's not delay. We should get married." Nisha got up and held Vishal's hand and started walking towards the pavilion. Nisha's gait had also changed. Nisha's mother ran to her and held her hand and said, "Son, what are you doing? The Muhurat has not yet begun." Nisha angrily looked at her mother and pushed her away. Now everyone understood that it was not Nisha, but the same woman who was standing here in the bride's attire a while ago. Shanti shouted loudly, "Wait the night. You can't do that." Now Vishal was also nervous. Vishal didn't want to go with Nisha, but Nisha held Vishal's hand firmly and Vishal's feet were also walking on their own. Nisha angrily threw Vishal into the pavilion. Vishal was nervous to see this form of Nisha. He slowly got up and started to leave. But then Nisha said in a different voice, "You will not go anywhere. You are my husband and today you and I are married. You can't leave me. You left me before. I won't let that happen this time." Vishal was looking at his family members. When Nisha sees that Vishal is looking at his family again and again, she starts harming his family members with the help of her invisible powers. Vishal and Nisha's parents jump in the air and hit the high walls of the palace, causing a lot of injuries to them. Seeing all this, the few guests left in the palace also run out quickly. They do not stay in that palace even for 1 minute, and in a short time, the whole palace is empty. Those who had come to join in the joys had left everyone in the time of sorrow. But Shanti and her father, Dhonilal, was still there. Shanti warns Nisha, "Nisha, you have to stop all this. If you don't, you'll regret it." Nisha started laughing loudly and said, "Do whatever you want to do. No one has been able to stop me and will not stop me." Nisha and Vishal's parents were lying in an injured state. Dhonilal was handling them. Raghu and Rajesh also suffered minor injuries. He was also injured. Shanti goes to the mandap, chanting Gayatri mantras loudly. Pure and enchanted desi ghee was kept near the fire pit. Nisha was also trying to harm Shanti, but there was no effect on Shanti as Shanti continued to chant the Gayatri mantra. As soon as she reads the mantra, she puts that desi ghee into the fire pit and then prays to God to remove whatever soul is inside Nisha, that soul from her body. As soon as ghee falls into the fire pit, the smoke spreads throughout the palace with a fragrance.
In a short time, everything becomes like a fog. Nobody sees anything. There was a fragrance all around. Then, in a short time, the smoke slowly starts to dissipate and everything becomes clear. They see Nisha lying unconscious on the ground near the mandap. Shanti wakes up Nisha. She gives him water. Vishal was also worried about Nisha. He holds Nisha's hand and starts crying. Nisha says to Vishal, "Vishal, let's leave from here. We don't have to do any destination wedding. We will get married in a temple in our city." It is only when Nisha says this that a shouting echoes in Fiza. "No, you can't go anywhere. You can't leave this castle and go anywhere. If Nisha and Vishal leave, I will kill both of them." Suddenly, the walls of the palace start cracking.
Blood starts oozing from them. The sound of crying begins to come from the walls. Everybody is scared. Shanti once again continues the chanting of mantras. Loud chants echo throughout the palace. The manager of the palace, who was lying in a corner in an injured state, peace and spaciousness handle him. When Chandan recovers a bit, Shanti angrily asks Chandan, "Now you have nothing to hide, so tell me the truth. What is all this? What is the secret of this palace?" Tears come to Chandan's eyes. He says nervously, "Forgive me, ma'am. I didn't know that so much would happen here. I thought the story of the queen was a rumor. Nothing like that happens here." Vishal asked in surprise, "Which queen? The story?" "I don't know much, but all I have heard is that this palace belonged to Rani Kanika. She was the only heir to her father. There were 20 nearby villages in his pocket, and all were full. It is said that Queen Kanika was a little arrogant. If she met anyone below her, she used to insult him, and everyone knew this, so people used to avoid meeting her. Due to Kanika's arrogant nature, no one was even ready to marry her. King Virendra saw the relationship of Queen Kanika in many places. Even if a little bit of talk was made, someone would also tell about Princess Kanika's personality. In such a situation, people would retreat. Gradually, Princess Kanika's age was also increasing. Their desires were also increasing. After all, she was also a girl. Along with this, irritability was also increasing. Sometimes the villagers used to insult Princess Kanika by calling her an older woman, after which she also punished him very badly. But what good would it be to do all this? She wanted to get married. Once, King Virendra went out to visit the princely state. Then his eyes fell on a small boy, passenger Jagan Singh. He was very kind and was giving water to some animals from the stepwell. The king thought, "It was also a traveler. She won't even know anything about my daughter's behavior. Tomorrow, our princely state can also handle it. It is also very strong and beautiful to look at." At the same time, he also thought that the son of any king was not ready to marry his daughter, because it is spread almost everywhere that Virendra's daughter, Princess Kanika, is a very angry and arrogant girl. That is why King Virendra talked to that traveler and proposed marriage to his daughter in front of him. For a while, Jagan Singh thought to himself why the king was asking me to marry his daughter. But at that time, he did not know anything about the traveler Virendra or his daughter. He was also aware of the conditions in his house. That's why he agreed to marry Virendra's daughter Kanika. The king kept Jagan Singh in his palace and did not allow him to meet the people. But somehow Jagan came to know that it is not right to marry Queen Princess Kanika. At the same time, Kanika put a condition in front of Jagan that he would never go back to his home. How could anyone marry a princess in such a situation? Jagan Singh tried very hard to escape from the palace, but the soldiers were guarded everywhere. Finally, the wedding day also arrived. Jagan did not want to marry Kanika. That's why he wanted to leave this place on the day of the wedding anyway. The people of the palace were taking Jagan Singh to a nearby temple for a ritual. At the same time, Jagan ran away after getting the opportunity. The wedding was also scheduled to take place on the same day. All the preparations were done. There were songs and dances in the palace. Kanika was also very happy. But as soon as he got the news that Jagan Singh had run away to avoid marriage, there was chaos in the entire palace. Virendra's men and soldiers searched for Jagan Singh everywhere, but he was nowhere to be found. In this grief, Kanika jumped into the lake behind the palace and gave her life. At that time, no one knew that Kanika was in distress, and she could even take her own life, because everyone was looking for Jagan Singh. Kanika committed suicide after getting a lonely opportunity. Virendra was deeply saddened by the death of his daughter. After all, everything was Kanika. They also lived for a short time. After that, this princely state was occupied by many people, but whoever marries their son or daughter here, they are not able to get married but become a curse. Either the boy or the girl dies, because Kanika's soul enters the girl's body and wants to marry the groom.
Kanika was in the bride's duo when she committed suicide. She just wants to have her groom, no matter who it is. Shanti says angrily, "This seemed to be the story to you?" Chandan says, Yes, madam. Where are ghosts? But I never thought I would actually get to see it all." Vishal calmly says, "Now leave all this and tell us how we can get out of this trouble.
We have to get out of this castle. Shanti says, you can't get out of this palace because you are bride and groom. Kanika clearly said that she can't let you go anywhere from here. She will marry you. We will have to somehow get you and Nisha married here in this mandap so that Kanika loses. But it's not that simple. I need some time. Shanti talks to her dad. They both perform a special type of puja and come up with a solution to this problem. Shanti and her dad make an enchanting Jaimala and Sindoor that is out of Kanika's reach. Then he nails the pavilion so that Kanika's soul does not enter this pavilion and does not stop the marriage of these two. Shanti and Dhunilal sit in that pavilion and also perform a yagna with Nisha and Vishal so that both of them can be saved from Kanika's soul. But at the time when he was performing the yagna, the fire of the fire pit was being extinguished again and again. There was the sound of screaming from somewhere and the sound of crying from somewhere. But Shanti and Dhunired do not give up. They complete their yagna. After this, Shanti dips the Abhimantrit in vermilion and turmeric and ties it on the waist of Vishal and Nisha. Shanti, that enchanted art, not only binds Vishal Nisha, but also his family members present there. Dhunilal tells Vishal that it is time for the wedding muhurta. We should not let this muhurta slip out of hand. Firstly, this is an auspicious time. On top of that, we have made all the preparations. Vishal says, you be carefree, Panditji. We will not let that Kanika disturb our marriage at all. Panditji starts the wedding rituals. A yellow cloth is tied around the pavilion so that Kanika's soul cannot enter the pavilion. But as soon as the marriage process begins, Kanika's soul enters the palace. She entered through the back door of the palace. Pandit Kishan Lal was also terrified to see his horrible form. He began to recite the mantra with less quivering lips, but his daughter Shanti was encouraging him. Kanika tried to come inside the pavilion, but all her attempts failed. He shouted, stop this marriage here or no one will be worse than me. But Dhunilal went on with his work. Kanika started breaking the palace with her invisible powers so that all the people would get scared and run away from the pavilion. The walls of the palace began to crack. Gradually the roof of the palace began to collapse. All the water of the lake started coming inside the palace like a flood. Vishal and Nisha's family members were very scared of all this, but Shanti had instructed everyone not to go out of this pavilion. Kanika's soul was wailing. After its best efforts, everyone acted courageously and stood in that pavilion. But no matter how many powers of Kanika could not work inside the pavilion. Nisha and Vishal garlanded each other with a greeting garland. Vishal filled the invited vermilion in Nisha's demand, seeing which Kanika was screaming badly. Kanika's voice was so loud that sometimes the sound of mantras was not even going to the ears of Nisha and Vishal, but still Dhunilal was reciting mantras with a loud voice with all his might. Both have rounds together. As soon as Vishal puts the Mangal Sutra around Nisha's neck, Kanika breaks down badly. His body goes out of the palace screaming in smoke. She was completely shattered. Only the pavilion was left there, which was perfectly intact. Those resonating winds calm down. The flood of water stops on its own. The sun's rays begin to come inside the palace pavilion. Gradually, from every corner of the palace, the spirits of different individuals, all of whom were boys, begin to stroll around. Actually, these were the same boys whom Kanika had made her victim. She would enter the bride's body and marry the groom and take him into her world. Gradually, all the souls merge into the burning fire pit in the mandap and they too get liberation. Nisha and Vishal's marriage was done properly with full rituals. They walk out of the mandap and go back to Uttar Pradesh with a painful memory.
So friends, this was our story today. How did you like the story? Please do tell me by commenting in the comment box. And also, those who haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself and your family. I will meet you soon with a new story. Thank you.